The National Life Group is 166 years old. And for those of you that do not know the relationship between Life of the Southwest and National Life, it's always a confusing situation, and I always like to put that to bed right up front, because everybody knows us as Life of Vermont, but they don't really know who LSW is. And National Life, Life of Vermont, has been around for 166 years, located in lovely Montpelier, Vermont. And they're a New York company by domicile. And in 1996, they realized that they were in career distribution mainly with captive agents, and they wanted to really take their products nationally and really open it up to people like Premier Life and Annuities for national brokerage distribution. So we had to buy a non-New York company, and in 1996, we purchased Life of the Southwest in Dallas, Texas, more affectionately known as LSW. So now we have that out of the way. Who are we? Well, we're one of the top 25 life insurance carriers in the country. We're the second oldest mutual life company in the country, next to New York Life. And we are currently the number 3 leading seller of indexed universal life products. And we've really experienced record growth over the last 3 years. We're known for pioneering and innovating living benefits. And if you were with us last week, we talked about our living benefit strategy and how it works and what is coming soon. And I'll address that at the end of our discussion. We're over $31 billion in assets. And coming soon in April, we're going to add an addition to our innovation, and that'll be called critical injury. That'll encompass brain injuries, paralysis, coma, burns, etc. So it'll complement our terminal, chronic, and critical illness riders, and not to mention our lifetime income benefit rider, which provides tax-free income for life. So now that the infomercial is over, to really address Mark's question is, why we're so successful is really the living benefit story. And what we've done is, through our affiliation with the National Life Group and their career side, we've got 166 years of expertise at our disposal. We have an advanced sales desk manned by estate planning and business planning attorneys. We have a regular sales desk, and we have your Premier Life and Annuities. We have Mike Zemeretti, your RVP. We also have a qualified plan sales desk, and we have a plethora of third-party administrators that can help out with any type of business planning you will run into. And the beauty of all this, folks, before we really get into the meat of our coffee talk discussion this morning, is when you're out there in the field and you're approaching business owners, you're going to have so many questions. Some of you are going to have incredible confidence. Some of you are going to lack confidence, and you're going to be fearful of approaching these business owners. What we're offering you is the ability to partner up with you and leverage our resources at home office and at Premier Life and Annuity to actually go in and talk to these business owners and provide valuable resources for them, do life insurance planning, and with us along the way to help hold your hand, for lack of a better word. Back to you, Mark.
Yeah, you're hitting on that subject. Business owners, it's really hot right now because they're the people that started making money again, hopefully, even when they're not. They need to protect their family. They need to protect their business. What are the opportunities out there with every business owner? It doesn't matter, whether they're a corporation or individuals or partnerships. Can you go through some of those opportunities?
Yeah, well, let's take a look at what's going on. The business owner market, and let's be specific as to why the market's hot. We ourselves, because of everything I just told you about our advanced sales desk and our products that really play into the fears that the business owners have. They're busy running their business. It's a very stressful environment. They're dealing with profitability or lack of profitability. Their sales are up and down. There's a lot of stress, which creates illness. They're concerned about taxation. Not to be political, but as we look and break down Obamacare as it moves into each year, more taxes become apparent and eat away. The dividend tax structure went up, and capital gains has gone up for 2015. These are major concerns for business owners. So realistically, what we've done successfully is we've addressed what keeps these business owners up at night. We address what are their biggest fears, and really their biggest fears are the rising of the taxation issues and taxation leverage. They're looking at ways to increase their income, particularly in retirement, and the big unknown is succession planning. I'll bet a lot of you don't realize, Mark, a lot of your agents probably don't realize this, that only 26% of business owners across our great country have a succession plan in place. What's going to happen to that business when they decide to retire or sell? 26% have a plan in writing and in place. Only 35% have an actual retirement plan in place, again, because they're so busy running their business. 91% of all business owners currently get their financial advice from their CPA and accountant. Now, this is interesting, Mark, because years ago, agents used to deliver financial advice to the business market through, cold calling businesses face-to-face, shaking hands and saying, are you paying too much for your health insurance? I'd like to quote you another health insurance company. And they go in there and they do disability income planning. They do health insurance, trying to save the money for that. And that would roost into some life insurance planning. But the last few years, with all the changes in healthcare, with the HMOs and the IMOs and the big third-party administrator benefit houses delivering a lot of these benefits, planning for the business owner has really gotten quiet, which creates a tremendous opportunity for everyone on this phone. And all you have to listen to is 91% of these business owners are getting their advice, from their CPA or accountant. So I've already kind of planted the seed where you want to go to,
Yeah, exactly.
And here's some of the opportunities you asked for, Mark. Key man insurance, buy, sell, transition business succession planning, executive benefits, qualified plans, a niche market called Section 79, premium financing, and overall general estate planning. And it's really exciting because, you can virtually walk into a business and introduce yourself and ask some key questions. And I've got a quick sales tip for all of you on the phone call now. Most business owners, I would say 90% or above, have no idea what their business is worth right now. You can simply ask them, well, have you ever had your business valuated? And there's different types of value. There's asset value, there's equity value, there's enterprise value, there's liquidation value. And I'll bet you most of the business owners you encounter haven't the foggiest idea of what their business is worth. And if you went to a CPA or tax attorney, or a tax accountant, I'm sorry, you would probably pay upwards of $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for a in-depth valuation. There's a website called www.bizequity.com, and I have nothing to do with this website, nor does National Life. But one of many agents that I know use this site. For $350, a business owner can put in 7 to 10 questions, and you roughly get a 21-page report detailing what the current value may be of the business. And that's a great starting point to be able to go off and start talking to these folks. I got a quick story for you, Mark, because I'm a man of stories. But
good.
But this really hits home, and this is a true story. About 2 months ago, one of my agents, and I come to you from lovely Tampa, Florida, and in the Tampa area, he had a real estate attorney that was age 58 that was going to buy an IUL from LSW and overfund it for retirement. Now, he was a sole proprietor running a real estate legal practice, and he basically came back to the agent and said, I've looked at overfunding this IUL and putting in $15,000 to $20,000 a year. I love it, and I love the income down at 65 or age 70, tax-free income, and I love the living benefits. However, here comes the however, I have 2 daughters in college still, and I'd like to hold off because they're not quite finished yet, and I'm not sure if they're going to pursue their master's or their PhD, so I'm going to hold on to my cash. And business is just starting to ramp up in the real estate markets and recovering from 2008. So maybe can we do a term, and then we'll convert a year or 2 down the road, and I can preserve my preferred status at age 58 and, convert to the IUL at that time. And the agent said, absolutely. The agent called me 2 months ago and said, Mike, I got some bad news. This gentleman passed away in a boating accident. He drowned. He fell off the boat trying to wedge his anchor out from some rocks and hit his head on the bow, and he succumbed to, they couldn't find him in the water. Long story made short, the agent, after attending the funeral and after being good friends with the husband and wife and going back to the home several times to get the paperwork in order to process this $1 million claim, the wife was very, very cold to him and then was downright aggressive with him and said, "You need to call this guy." And she gives him a card with another attorney's name. And he goes, "Well, who's this?" She goes, "It's the probate attorney I had to hire because I had to go to him because did you know my husband had no will or trust in place and no business succession planning. He has an ex-wife and 2 kids that now want to attach the business because he verbally promised that business to them. They want to know how much of the $1 million term policy the kids are going to get from the previous marriage because there was some kind of a verbal, according to the ex-wife, promise from this gentleman." So it went on, and here's the story. The baseline story, or the moral to the story is the agent was so ashamed that he didn't press this gentleman for proper documentation as to whether there was transition planning in writing and seeing it. Is there a will? Is there a trust? What would happen? What if? I mean, the business was frozen. The bank accounts were frozen. Florida law, you can't touch a legal a law practice unless you have a law degree, and then the current spouse did not have that. So it was a mess. And what the agent learned is he went back to his book of business and called every one of his business clients, and he said 70 to 80% had no will or trust in place, nor did they have adequate life insurance because they were too busy running their business, and nobody was calling on them to refocus them in that direction. So, Mark, I've been going on, but how does that sound?
Yeah, well, that
interesting. Food for thought.
I think, yeah, it is very good food for thought, and every one of our agents, ourselves, we're in business. I would be willing to bet that a lot of us listening in right now have those same fall-down features. We don't know exactly what our business is. We don't know what the plan is. And most of us in life insurance think retirement is, well, we'll keep selling until they close the lid. So, that's kind of our retirement plan, but we owe it to us and our customers to take that extra step. There's no question about it. Take yourself an example. Well, with LSW, with National Life Group, they now give us the tools, to go see them, even if you're unconfident. What are some of those tools? What can an agent expect, and how do they handle going to see those business owners? Because we need to do it right away.
Well, Mark, you hit the nail on the head, and let me share 25 years of wholesaling experience with you, some of which was as an agent, just like many agents on the phone right now. I find that the biggest fear or uncomfortability of agents approaching business owners is, who can I fall back on to help me disseminate whatever I uncover? If I go to a business owner and they tell me they've got a 412I plan or a 412E3 or a defined benefit plan or a defined contribution plan, many agents may not know how those work. And for sure, including myself, if I was to look over documents that were 10 years old or 7 years old or 15 years old, I wouldn't be able to ascertain if it was a competitive situation today in today's tax environment with all the changes that are occurring. Is this still a good plan? But if you scan them and send them to Premier Life and Annuity, who can send them to our advanced sales team, some of our attorneys can look at those documents and say, that was a great plan 10, 15 years ago, but today it's not worth its salt. Or it's still a good plan, but maybe we could layer something on. Remember, I said something in the beginning of this conversation. 91% of business owners get advice from their accountants and CPAs, and a lot of those accountants and CPAs are either friendly or non-friendly towards life insurance sales. There's an old saying that I learned when I was a debit agent. I told my boss that clients hated life insurance, and she laughed, and she goes, "Mike, they don't hate life insurance. They love life insurance. They just hate paying for it." But, being able to have the business pay the premium, we have the ability to do that in Section 79 concepts. There are so many different plan designs. And let me share with you what we coach agents into doing to approach business owners. Basically, it's very simple. You keep it simple. The word is simple. You approach a business owner, you introduce yourself, and you ask them, "Tell me about your business." It's that simple. And we have fact finders and PowerPoints that you can pre-read and get set with this type of putting yourself in this situation. And what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, you're asking the client, you're interviewing the client to tell you about their business. No different than seeing a senior, asking them about their family, or anybody asking a family about their children. You be quiet and you listen and you take mental or physical notes. And if you read the fact finders that we have key man fact finders, business transition fact finders, estate planning fact finders, and you're listening to these key questions and making notes. And after they're done telling you about their business, whether it's successful or not successful, then you ask them another simple question. What worries you as a business owner? What is the biggest challenge that you're facing? In short, what keeps you up at night? And then again, they share those thoughts with you. And again, you take mental notes. And at the end of this, if something hasn't been answered that you've read on these fact finders, then you ask them. Quite simply, you know what you haven't told me, Mr. Business Owner? What are you going to do with the business when you're done? And they may look at you and they'll smile and they say, you know, that's a darn good question. I was thinking of selling it and living off of those funds for my retirement or supplementing my retirement. Or B, I was going to give it to my children or sell it to my children or sell it to my current partner or partners. Or 3, I'm going to die in the saddle. They're going to carry me out of this business, and I'll leave that sale of the business up to my family in the estate process. So then you basically smile and said, well, okay, I understand that. You're no different than most business owners, but let me ask you a question. Would you feel more confident if you had this committed to writing and you had a plan so that people didn't have to guess if you did have a heart attack behind your desk and keel over, and then, you know, after all the sorrow and emotion is over, people are scratching their heads saying, what the heck are we going to do with Dad's business, and how are we going to move along here? So I think it's very important that you discuss the eventuality of the planning, and it's very crucial to document and have a plan in writing. National Life Group provides a sales desk, an advanced sales team, a qualified plan sales team, and we have third-party administrators that we have vetted that can assist you with Section 79 and captive insurance planning. As a matter of fact, Mark, next week our topic is going to be Section 79, and we're going to talk about that niche business market where the premium is actually paid for by the corporation, and the corporation takes 100% tax deduction, and it's passed along to an insurance product that benefits the employer and the employees. So a lot to talk about in future upcoming coffee talks, and we'll also talk about premium financing the week after that. I urge a lot of you that get contracted with us to look at our National Life Group University website, which really gets into, if you're really wanting to get into this business owner, and Mark, you know, we've talked about this a lot. There's so much to learn, but yet you can keep it very simple by tuning into our National Life Group University page and just kind of viewing documents like fact finders and pre-recorded WebExes and PowerPoints so that you at least have a foundation to be able to address business owners verbally.
Yep, and if I can just simplify it down to what I understand you're saying, and as I understand agents can go out and see business owners, number 1, you find the facts. Number 2, you find out what worries them. Number 3, what are their plans? You can do it those 3 steps, and if you listen and then make the next appointment, because, you know, I don't care if you've been in the business 20 or 30 years, you know it changes, taxes changes. You can't be an expert in every field. Then go back, prepare using Life of the Southwest teams, using their questionnaires, using the people they have. Mike, myself here at Premier, and Kathy and her team. Plus then we get involved with, like you said, the third-party administrator and some of those specialized people at Life of the Southwest that can really hone in on, okay, here's where we need to go. Here's our proposal. This is what we see. Here's more questions you need. We'll guide you through that. And anytime you do a business, it's probably not an overnight trip, but it's well worth the effort because of the satisfaction you're giving to the business owners or your friends or neighbors, plus they're usually generally the bigger cases.
Mark, you know, in summary to this, and that was well said, simplicity is the art, keeping it simple. But I want you all on this call to remember this. people are, what are we trying to do when we prospect? And I, as a former agent, my heart's in your hands as well. It's tough prospecting. It's costly. There's a lot of competition out there. But by being able to differentiate yourself, by being able to go out there and talk to business owners and ask CPAs. We have a CPA Advantage Program that teaches you how to talk to these accountants and CPAs and to network with them. And yeah, they've been hit on a lot, but what people are really looking for is, hey, this guy or gal is different. They ask some questions, and by talking about, for example, if I was Mark, if I ran into you as a business owner on the street and I said, Mark, what keeps you up at night? Tell me about your business. And you tell me a little bit, but then you catch yourself and you stop and you say, but you know what? My brother-in-law is a life insurance agent. He's got me all set. I said, well, can I ask you a question, Mark? You have, and there's no pun on there with question mark, but that's a good one. Question mark. Question mark. How about this? Question mark. Mark, is your life insurance plan, is it an old style? Is it the old kind of life insurance, or is it the new kind? And you're going to scratch your head and say, well, Big Mike, what's the new kind? Well, it's life insurance you don't have to die to use, Mark. We have these new products that have living benefits, terminal illness, chronic illness, critical illness, and soon-to-be critical injury. These pay tax-free lump sum amounts up front or recurring income that'll give you money when you are stressed out and sick. And what do we all have in common? We all want to live as long as we possibly can. Something's coming out there to get us. That makes you a huge differentiator in terms of being different than the other people that may have asked these people for their business. And by showing them different concepts or discussing the different solutions to their problems of what keeps them up at night, you again make yourself different from the other guy or gal because they say, wow, you really know your stuff. And what really attracts me is we all know about life insurance. We know about the need and the greed. We know about the death benefit. But you know what? You give me the ability to grow money, tax-deferred, and take it out on the back end, tax-free, and possibly guaranteed for life if you take our income rider, and couple that with the living benefit story of terminal, chronic, critical, and critical injury, you've really addressed a lot of areas of interest with any client, whether they're a business owner or middle America or affluent clients. So I'll leave it at that, Mark. It's a tremendous story, and it's a tremendous opportunity for 2015.
Well, we've come pretty close to that 10:30 time right now. I show 10:31. If any of you got a question, just hit the pound sign. We'll try and answer any questions right now. We'll leave the Section 79 questions, if there are any, till next week and cover that more in detail on this business type. But anybody hit the pound, or if you have the pin audio, we can unmute yourself and ask that question.
While we're waiting for somebody to jump on, Mark, I think the other tidbit I can share with you is where the most successful agents have been is when they can partner with somebody in a mentoring approach. And I think what we do and what Premier Life and Annuity does is take up that mentoring approach. And I don't mean to be insulting when I say sometimes you need a little hand-holding and direction as to how to go about things. That's what we offer that differentiates us, because we're no different than you. How are we different than other carriers? And we hope that, after the series of coffee talks and you look at our product value, our value proposition, you say, this carrier is so different than any other carrier out there. The differentiation is amazing. The value proposition is so client-concentric, and they really help me develop my business plan and move forward. And by the way, this is interesting. I could floor you with this statement if you're not sitting down. Our people on our advanced sales team, these attorneys, these estate planning and business planning attorneys, will actually, in the sales process, get on a phone call with you and your client or the client's tax attorney or accountant to answer any questions, as long as you're on the phone with them. I don't know of how many carriers do that, and that's also a great way to win over CPAs and tax accountants, Mark.
And everyone that has registered and attending this seminar, give us a call at 800-365-8208 and ask for your life team. We will get you the PowerPoint. We'll get you the questionnaires, the surveys that we have, brochures that you can hand out for your clients, and actually hits all these points that we've been talking about. Life of the Southwest has got some great materials there. So until you get to that point where you're contracted, give us a call. Again, that's 800-365-8208, and ask for that life team. Don't see anybody else on here right now, Mike.
Okay, so I think we should wrap it up, and we'll see you next week when we talk about Section 79.
They're great. Section 79. That's detailed on that business side. A lot of interest in that. See you next week. Thank you, everyone. We'll be doing this every Monday at 10 o'clock. Next week, Mike again will be back, and thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Stay warm. Thank you.